Okay, welcome to step one of your internal assessment guide. Okay, the first thing you need to do is select an appropriate article. Okay, in order to do that, what you need to do is decide on the economic concept you want to explore first. So don't just be reading in the news and looking at things and then decide what topic you want to cover first. So for example, you might have decided positive externalities, you understood the diagram, and you wanted to do a news story about that. So then you can go and have a look at some articles about education or some articles about vaccines and do a search on Google like that, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, the second thing you need to make sure, especially if this is your second or third or fourth IA, is that you're using different sources. Okay, so you're not just using the BBC or the Guardian, you're using different sources and you're using different examples from around the world, so don't just stick to one country. Your article should really be in English to make it easier for yourself. You could pick potentially an article from a non-English speaking country, but you need to get that article translated. And like I've just said, make sure that it fits your chosen concept perfectly. And why you're going to make issues for yourself, and that's really easy to do. And then once you've done that, you complete the IA plan sheet. Okay, so just to show you what that looks like, let me take you to Schoolology. Well, first of all, a Google search. So for example, I thought negative externalities would be a good one, so I've gone to Google, I've clicked on news, and then I've searched for cigarette advertisements, thinking actually that'd be quite an interesting one because I could explain why they would want to remove cigarette ads from certain things. As we can see here, there's lots of different articles, and what makes a good article is that it's not particularly long, because if it's too long, the analysis that you want to do in your commentary is going to be done for you, so there's nothing left for you to do. So therefore you shouldn't use like specialist publications like The Economist, because the analysis will be too detailed. But likewise, you shouldn't use someone's personal blog. You should stick to a reasonable standard of newspaper. So for example, the Global Times, if I click on here, Beijing bans cigarette ads. Okay, so let's have a look at this article. So it's just thinking about it. Here it comes up. So again, scroll down. So a very short article. Okay, maybe a little bit too short, but it could potentially be really good. So Beijing has banned all cigarette advertisements as of June the 1st. So brilliant. I can talk about cigarettes being a demerit good. I can talk about the negative externalities caused by that, and then I could talk about this particular solution that the Beijing authorities have adopted, so banning advertisements, for example, also banning smoking from indoor areas, and talking about how that would move the private benefit around, so making people less demand for cigarettes along the way. But also I'd talk about maybe the elasticity of cigarettes, the fact it's inelastic, so maybe in the short term there's not going to be a great impact, but maybe in the longer term, as it might not be an appealing habit to develop. Okay, so that's what I would do. I would go to Google and Google News and look for an article specifically about something I want to talk about. So if it was positive externalities, I'll probably look about one about vaccines and look for a short article about vaccines. Remember, it needs to be maybe a little bit longer than this article, but not pages and pages and pages. Okay, and then I would copy and paste, or I'll do a print screen of this, and this would be my first page in my commentary as an extract. Okay, have a look at the example commentaries to give you an idea of how it would look. Okay, then once I've done that, I'm going to go to Schoolology, look at the templates to use, and then click on the internal assessment plan sheet. Okay, obviously I'll download it and type these things in, but just so you know what it looks like. So economic concepts to cover, so for that I would have negative externalities, demerit goods, and obviously that's microeconomics. And then I would article source, is it reliable, is it different from others? So I'd put the source, so Global Times, and this is my first IA, so obviously it's different from the others. Is it reliable? I might look a little bit more into the Global Times in terms of is it someone's personal blog, or is it actually a recognized news source? And if I'm not too certain, I'll probably look for that story in another place. So remember, if one news website is running a story on something, it's probably going to be on another news site if you look hard enough. So I'd probably refine that search to, so if we go back to Google, so cigarette advertisement ban China. Okay, so I'm refining it now to look for maybe a better source, see if there's any better source. So China rolls out, so CNN, okay, yeah, that's pretty recognized news source. I can click on there now, and hopefully, and as we can see, it's within the last 12 months, so it can't be too old. And we've got this, so take away the cookies, so we've got things, okay, but you can't have it about video or anything, it just needs to be purely the news story here, okay, so what it says here, and then we copy and paste that. If it happens to be too long, I might go and have a look for another news story. Okay, so maybe it's okay, the pictures make it look longer than it actually is, okay, so I'd go back there if I'm not happy with the Global Times original. Okay, so then I've done that. Then the article title, so we just choose Beijing rolls out China's toughest smoking ban, but will it work? Okay, question mark. Remember, if it's too detailed, this analysis, okay, so it's already sort of answering the question potentially that you want to answer, so you might look for another news story that doesn't tackle it in as much analysis, okay? And then there you'll just put China bans, well, the title, and then China bans cigarettes. Terminology, so you use all those things. So in this case, I'd put demerit goods, I'd put negative externalities, I might put regulation, okay, so they're regulating, they're banning advertisements and so on. And then the final thing, what diagrams? So I would sketch in here or just type in the diagrams I'd use, so I'd probably use a negative externalities diagram in there, definitely, and then maybe emphasize the point about the demand for cigarettes, maybe that they're price inelastic, so they might not have much impact in the short run, okay, so I'll put those things in there. So if you can fill in all those boxes, you've got a pretty good start in terms of that you've picked a good article. Okay, so that's the end of getting started, picking a good article. It needs to be, you need to pick your concept first and then go looking for that article. So again, let me just show you how easy it is. So again, another concept that we might have picked up, so monopolies. Okay, so monopoly watchdog, okay, or regulation or something. Okay, so I've spelled that wrong. So German antitrust chief warns against restricting Google. So again, they're talking about taking away some of Google's power that they've got because they have over 90% of the market, but the watchdog's talking against that. We've got armed with powerful lobbyists, said energy shares rocket by 21%. So Bulgaria finds power distributors for abuse of power. So again, there could be a lot of things explaining why the monopoly has that power and the impact on society, and why Bulgaria might have actually fined them, okay, and what good that will actually do. So there's lots of stuff there, okay. So just pick for whichever one. Okay, and you're going to be doing an internal assessment on each of the areas: micro, macro, international trade, and economic development. So hopefully that gives you a good idea how to find a good article. Good luck, and go on to step 2 once you've found a good article.